Hey, Fit Moms. You know how hard it can be to get our kids excited about eating something other than chicken nuggets or mac and cheese? What if we could make healthy food fun and even help our kids see how each color on their plate fuels their body in amazing ways? Today, I'm joined by my friend and former colleague, Alex Kindred, who's also a physician assistant. And we've worked together in medicine. And one thing we've both seen firsthand is that our healthcare system often waits until people are sick before it steps in. But we believe there's a better way, a proactive, a whole body, a kingdom minded approach to health. And I'm so excited for you to meet Alex today. She's an author of a brand new children's book that teaches kids the power of colorful foods and how certain food colors give them energy or strength and so much more. And we're diving into our experiences in medicine, why we believe health starts at home, and how you can spark joy and curiosity about food with your kids starting today. Let's go. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast, where we believe that you can go on a journey to lose weight for the last time. I know you've tried all the things and you may not believe me yet, but when you do weight loss the Kingdom Fit Moms way, everything changes. You're in the right place if weight is constantly on your mind, you're confused about food, you're missing out on memories, and maybe even putting your dreams off for another day because this weight struggle is no joke. We're a community and we're on a mission to invite God into this weight loss journey so you can shed the burden and shine your light. I want you to start living and believing in the version of yourself that heaven sees. Let's get started. Hi, Alex. Welcome
Hi,
to Kingdom Fit Moms. Glad to have you.
thanks for having me. This is exciting.
So I'll let Alex introduce herself, but we go back several babies ago, right?
Yeah,
Like
I think,
6 babies total.
yeah, yeah.
Is
Start of
that
my motherhood journey, that's for sure.
because I already had Noah when we met. Was Brienne
Yes.
alive yet? Can't remember.
How old is she now?
She's 6.
I feel like if maybe you were on maternity leave when I was interviewing, I think, actually.
Okay. So many
Yeah.
babies ago.
Yes.
So anyway, however many years that is. But tell our audience about you and
Okay.
then we'll talk all things health and real food today.
Sounds good. Well, I'm Alex. I met Kelsey through work as a physician assistant at a family medicine practice that we both worked at in Illinois. But I currently actually live in North Carolina and I have 3 kids, 5, 4, and 9 months old. And yeah, so now kind of doing the kid thing and do a little bit of PA work on the side.
And you're a homeschooling mom. We were just talking about that before we got on the
Yes.
call.
Yes. Newly homeschooling mom. So, as if I didn't already ask Kelsey a bunch of questions about life, medicine, momming, now it's going to be homeschool questions too.
No, but every question you ask me, I'm like, I don't really know, but figure it out with you. So on
No,
the
I
journey
will.
together, definitely.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I love to ask all of my interviewees 3 things that you're loving right now, and it can be anything in the world.
Okay. Well, I'd say we are loving beach like evening swims as a family right now. Um, we're really into tea parties, so tea parties are fun. It's also fun because like my kids will actually like sit and talk to me for a moment. So I guess tea parties. And then have you done any of the Grace Company, Daily Grace Company Bible studies?
I've heard of it, but I have not done it.
Okay, I did my first one recently, so I'm really loving it. I just like placed a huge another order. This isn't a promo for them or anything like that, but
Okay,
I do just really love their stuff. So I guess those are my 3 things I'm loving right now.
awesome. Well, I will have to check that out because I'm like in the market for a new devotional. So, all
Ooh, you should check out their motherhood study. I just did it and it was really good.
right, good to know. And for all our listeners, if you hear little coos or whatever in the background, this is like Motherhood at its finest, right? Like I'm nursing as Alex and I are talking, and her kids are maybe sleeping, and
Maybe sleeping, maybe playing in their crib,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, we'll see. All right, so tell us, let's start with your journey as a PA.
Okay.
Um, on the podcast, I've shared plenty about maybe a little bit of why I left family medicine and my take on health related things, but I think it's good to hear from other people. So tell us kind of whatever you want to share about becoming a PA and your journey towards how you think about health.
Okay. All right. So I guess I always kind of knew I wanted to go into medicine. I just really like the idea of helping people be healthy, stepping into that vulnerable space when they're sick to kind of, shepherd them through that. So I went to PA school, and then when it came time to choose a field outside of PA school, I really struggled because there were a lot of areas of medicine that I really did enjoy. And so then I ended up doing primary care because I felt like it gave me the ability to kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, but then also like really walk someone through like every aspect of their health from beginning to end, and kind of look at, the holistic picture of an individual's health. But I realized quickly that my practice was going to be dominated by chronic disease management, mental health, and weight management. Um, and, you know, not at all saying there's definitely not a place for medicine in our lives, but I just feel like as I practiced, it felt like we had just gotten so far from the way God had created us to live, active lifestyles, moving our bodies, eating food the way God designed it, connecting with people and fellowshipping. Those are all things that I didn't feel like were really being integrated into medicine. Um, and I feel like they're like big pieces of the puzzle that we need and are kind of missing in our medical system. And so I think, I started to feel like had been become too much of like a convenience culture. And because of that, we were missing out on integrating some of these important aspects of medicine. And so that's when you and I started talking a lot about, what's missing and how can we change it and make it better.
Oh, I like that phrase, convenience culture. I feel like that's kind of the epitome of, gosh, I hate to say it, but it's like the epitome of family medicine. Kind of like,
Yeah.
at least where we practice, because we didn't
Yes.
have, I mean, there were some, I shouldn't say this, we had some really amazing patients who really, at least I think, that wanted to change and like, um, you know, go on this holistic health journey. But unfortunately, the culture is not that, right? You have to be in a pretty special practice for that to be like the mainstream way of thinking there.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you were met with this too. Like you spend all this time like trying to like go over stuff with a patient and like talk about all these ways that they can change to avoid medicine, and then you get to the end and like, well, I think I'd rather just take the medicine. And
Yes,
it's like,
glad I went through that.
yeah, like okay.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we can definitely relate to a lot of what you're saying. Like there's a lot of us in healthcare, we really have a heart to help people get well and stay well. And unfortunately, even, I mean, it's not even necessarily all our patients' fault, right? They watch TV and there's all these
Mhm.
commercials of happy people taking medication, right? And again, not that medicine
Mhm.
is bad in and of itself, but I think we both just have a heart for a better way. And
Yes.
so that's why we're having this conversation today. So hey, Fit Moms, real quick. If you've been feeling stuck, starting and stopping over and over again, I've got something for you. I created a free resource called the Consistency Kickstart. It's designed to help you stop spinning your wheels and finally build the habits that stick. Inside, I'll walk you through the exact steps I give my coaching clients to get momentum back even when life feels busy and overwhelming. If you're tired of saying, I just can't stay consistent, this is for you. Grab it today at the link down in the show notes. Again, hop right down into the show notes and I'll get you unstuck and moving forward one small step at a time. Tell us a little bit about your story, other outside of medicine, kind of. I know that you love real food,
Yeah.
and tell us, yeah, whatever you want to share about what led you down this path to even desiring to share holistic health, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I guess like during COVID was a really big eye opener for me because I just felt like a lot of what made sense to me, like biologically and like scientifically and what we had learned wasn't necessarily adding up. So I just really started like digging into A, why is it not adding up? B, um, like what actually is true? Like what have I just believed because that's what I've always been told? And what do I believe because like there's good science behind it or, it lines up with the way I feel like God created us to be, all that kind of stuff. And I just started to see that, maybe there's more holes between that than there should be. Not that people shouldn't trust, like if you find a provider that you trust, you should absolutely like, they have their best interests at heart, but like, there's just, I don't know that there's always like, through all that, I guess I just started to see more of those areas that maybe we could be better as a, healthcare system. Um, and so it started making me, second guess some of the things that maybe I just had always expected or accepted to be true. Um, so it's started to just make me think about, okay, how can I practice better in medicine, but then also even in my own life, especially becoming a mom and stuff, like what's that going to look like? Or what do I want it to look like when it comes to like raising these kids in a world that maybe is more of a convenience culture? I want them to be set up for a successful and healthy life. And what's that going to look like? And then it just was really fun. I found this thing and it was like talking about how, a hard work is easy on the body, hard for the soul, but easy work is easy on the body, but hard for the soul. And I'm like, that's so true. And like we started, I think it started with sourdough for me. I started making sourdough and I was like, this is so fun. Like being able to like make real food and feed my kids and then they're interested in it. So it's something we're doing together. And now like we have a garden and all that stuff. It's just like, it really is a fun way of living. And I just feel like it became so clear to me, like, this is how we're designed to be. Um, and so I just feel like I've become really passionate about it through all of that.
Yeah, COVID was definitely eye-opening for a lot of us, I think. I'm kind of
Yeah.
grateful for all that.
Yeah.
We could talk a whole podcast about that, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
everyone's gonna catch in our drift. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because there were some ladies in one of our homeschool co-op who are a little bit older than me, and they were talking about just this lost art, how a lot of young people like our age and younger aren't really interested in those like ancient ways as much anymore.
Mhm.
But I do think there is like a reemergence because we are realizing
Totally.
it was almost like a skipped generation, right?
Hmm.
Casserole, lots of casseroles, lots of convenience, to save time. Both parents are often working. Again, none of these, we're not like trying to diss anyone, but it's just the reality, right? And now we're kind of like,
Hmm.
hey, we kind of want to learn those things.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the basics. And you're so right that it is it's fun. And it seems,
Yeah.
I think maybe cultures before saw it, or not, but generations before, even one generation before, maybe saw it as something that they didn't want to do anymore. But we're like, hey, we want to learn this.
Yes, exactly. Well, and that's what I went and spent some time up with my grandmother after my grandfather had passed away. And she has like this huge garden and like my kids were out there just picking beans off the stalk and snacking on them. And I was like, yeah, this is what how we're meant to live.
Yeah. And you've always been someone who's been pretty healthy, would you say? Or what's kind of your own relationship with food?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family that really liked to run, and I was always like into sports and running and things like that. So I think just naturally through that, I always wanted to, fuel my body and, be healthy as a way to perform better. Um, but I still think even through that, like I can see the areas of my life where, maybe I didn't always have still the best relationship with food. Um, because, so, primary example, I remember I was in this race called the Ragnar. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's basically, we were running from Chicago to Milwaukee, and it's like a multi-leg relay situation, and you're running through the night and stuff. So we had stopped to have dinner, and I was like, oh, I should probably get a salad. I really am craving a burger, which is kind of weird for me, but that's not great for like a race. That's whatever. Kind of that whole like good versus bad food labeling. Um, so anyway, had the salad, went to do my last leg and ended up basically passing out. Found out a week later I was pregnant. And usually when I'm pregnant, I'm anemic. So it's like, okay, my body was clearly trying to tell me something, but like, even as someone who I'd say has always tried to be quote unquote healthy, I just feel like the way we have, at least I grew up learning about food and talking about food, was like taking us away from that intuitive eating and like basically the way we were designed to. I mean, our bodies are designed to kind of know what we should and shouldn't eat, and I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so cool how if we can, especially if we can eliminate like the emotional eating and like just see food for what it is, restoring the glory of God in real food and being able to lean into those nudges from our bodies. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
designed so amazingly. So you found out you're
Yes.
pregnant from wanting a burger. I also craved a bunch of red meat when I was pregnant. So
Yeah. Yeah.
funny.
It is funny.
So you've had this passion. You realize maybe something's missing. You wanted to renew your relationship even more with real food, and it led you down this path to do a passion project, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
tell us about your
Yeah.
passion project.
Yes. So, kind of, all these little pieces that are falling into place. And then I become a mom. And um, then it became like personal, right? It's less of like, oh, I want to like better the public health system. Now it's like, oh, what am I going to do in my own home so I can make sure I'm helping like my kids and whatever. Um, and so when my son was learning his colors, we started talking a lot about like what different colored foods do for your body, because I feel like that's a huge piece of it. If we're thinking about food as fuel and not attaching, emotional aspects to it, or like labels or some of those other things that I feel like have been tried in the past, then, maybe we can get back to that place of intuitive eating and, eating things the way that they were meant to be. And so we just kind of started as a conversation. And then my son, he started asking me, Mom, can I have this banana because I have a cut on my ankle or whatever? Or can I have these blueberries because I want to be smart? Just little things like that. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So I started trying to look for a book that kind of talked about this concept of like colors of food and what they do for your bodies. But I just wasn't really finding exactly what I wanted. So I just was like, you know what? Why don't I just try and write my own book? Um, so I was like, well, we'll just try it. And I ended up talking to one of my friends that I ran with in college. And she's like, you know what? I've always wanted to illustrate a book. And she's a teacher and stuff. So it just kind of grew from there into this thing that I think is really cool. Because now my son, we were gonna run in this turkey trot this past Thanksgiving, and we were rushing because we just can't get out the door ever on time. And yeah, my son's like, "Hey, Dad, can you stop at the grocery store on the way and get me something green so I can have energy to run quick?" And I'm like, that's just so cool. Like, I wish that when I was 5 years old, I was like thinking about food that way, because I really do feel like, if we can lay down these solid foundations of food, it really does set our kids up for success.
Yeah, and that's amazing, first of all, that you're doing the thing,
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna write a book. I'm just gonna do it. And it's cool that you have normalized this for your kids because I think we shy away so much in this like body positivity movement. Like we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, so let's just not even talk about it. But just like anything, especially when you're a kingdom-minded household, like you want to share truth with your kids. And
Mhm.
that includes with food. So like why would we shy away from this? you're not saying, oh, the cookie is bad, but you're saying, hey, you could choose that, or you could choose, these greens. And what, 6-year-old is choosing greens? That's amazing. But
Right. Yeah.
or
Yeah,
5-year-old.
exactly. Well, and I love that what you said that about like, the whole body positivity movement because yeah, everyone's beautiful and God created everyone in his image. And but it's also like but he trusted us to be stewards of our body too, and our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And if you look at your body as a temple of the Holy Spirit, then that should encourage you to not only love yourself but also want to take care of yourself. And the reality of it is if you're not eating the right things, then your body is going to get sick and it's not going to be healthy. um, so I just think, what you said about that is just really important and something that might be a little bit taboo in today's society, but is really important.
Yeah. And even just for a kid to be able to look at, a big spread of food and be able to discern what they should eat because my mom taught me,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. I feel like as your kids grow, you're going to be able to have more in-depth conversations, even with your nerdy science brain like mine, to be able to like say, hey, this is what's happening at a cellular level. And now your next
Yeah.
like middle school book will come out and then your high school credit book.
Oh, we've already started. Like my son, I think he's kind of going to have a little bit of a brain like mine. Like he always is asking why. He can't not ask a question. Kelsey's like, oh, yeah, I know. Cause you text me all the time, these random questions. Um, And he's already started like he'll be like, well, mom, but you said that this food does this for your body, but what about XYZ? And I'm like, okay, now we're gonna move the conversation forward. So it's definitely obviously nutrition. You can go so far with it. This book is obviously a pretty much just like a nutritional primer, but it is cool the way it's starting to spiral into those other conversations.
So your book is called what? What's it called?
My colorful plates.
Okay. And it's geared towards young kids, elementary kids.
Yeah, so I would say primarily like ages 3 to 8. We do have a board book option for like those toddler years because that's honestly when I started introducing it to my kids is when they were learning their colors and stuff. Um, but then like the hardcover and the paperback, I feel like there's some additional like resources at the end, like a glossary that kind of because some of the basically in it we introduce a couple like terms or ideas that are maybe a little bit beyond that level even for like some parents to maybe be like oh I don't know what that is. So at the end there's like a glossary that kind of explains some of the terms and stuff. So my hope is that like it'll be a thing that's not only just for kids to learn but for like families as a whole, to a learn something but then b take this book and keep learning and growing and exploring from it.
You're totally going to have a homeschool curriculum one day. I'm just declaring. That's awesome.
Oh gosh, Kelsey, run if that's the case, because I'm gonna be like, Kelsey, read over everything, edit
I'd
it,
be
tell
happy to
me.
share it. You can come back on the podcast, talk about food some more.
Perfect.
I love that so much. Obviously, my listeners know I love real food and I love talking about it in all the ways. So it's so cool that you're including our littles in the conversation. Where where can people find you
Mhm.
and find this book? And we'll also include this in the show notes because it's going to maybe be changing in the near future. So we'll make sure to update
Okay.
it, right? But
Yeah.
maybe for now, just tell us where can people order this book?
Yeah. So we have a website. It's mycolorfulplate.myshopify.com. And in the future, we'll be releasing on like Barnes and Noble and Amazon, hopefully. But I'll even have a link to that on that website. So regardless, that website is a place that you can for sure find what you're looking for.
So I highly recommend all you fit moms to get this book for your kids because a lot of times the conversation, especially when women first start, is okay, I want to do this, but how do I get my kids on board? And we know it's not, especially if they, are used to eating Fruity Pebbles and chips or whatever, it's going to be a transition. But if you can make it seem like something um, that is fun and
Mm-hmm.
something that they get to be a part of, I think it's a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
You can even take the book, right, and then start cooking with the colors and doing it one at a time, right? So I think it's a great tool to help with that transition as you're losing weight too.
Yes, totally. I know there's been so many times where we'll even say like, okay, let's see if we can like make a rainbow with our fruits and things like that. And then we'll read the book and kind of talk through it as we do like that simple activity. So I think you're totally right. It's just a little resource to kind of get things started at a simple level.
Okay. Well, thanks for spending time on the podcast today and just sharing your passion project. I can't wait to share it with our audience and get a copy myself to read to my kids because they'll know I'll totally nerd out on all this stuff too.
Yes, yes. Well, thanks so much for having me. This was fun and it was fun to catch up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will, like I said, for everyone listening, we'll put everything in the show notes. You can connect with Alex. She's on Instagram too if you want to ask her any questions. And we'll see you next time. Hey, Fit Mom. If this episode blessed you today and you can think of somebody else who's struggling in her weight loss journey, would you consider sharing this week's episode with her to give her a sense of hope? And then while you're at it, hop on over to our free Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, for daily encouragement and support. Let's go shed the weight to shine the light.